Hello, and welcome to the show. My name is Tony Glasgow. I am your host. Today on the show, I'm joined by the head coach of the Denton Ryan Raiders, David Hengan. Coach Henigan has built an impressive legacy at Denton Ryan, developing talent at every level, from high school standouts to college stars and even NFL players. In our conversation, Coach Henigan and I covered a wide range of topics as we head into the summer. We talked about his approach to coaching, the strength of their schedule. We also discussed summer workouts and his son, Seth Henigan, a 4-year starting quarterback out of the University of Memphis. He was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars in the 2025 draft, so we get into that just a little bit and talk about what he's planning to do. Coach also opened up about how he and his staff and his family make time during the summer to relax and recharge, and that's a crucial part of sustaining success over the long haul. It's a wide-ranging, insightful conversation with one of the Texas high school legends, and he's one of the most respected coaches in Texas as well. So let's go ahead and dive in. We started with something foundational, the summer youth camps. This time of year, a lot of high schools are running activities for younger athletes, and Coach shared how they're getting the next generation of Raiders involved early.
Youth football camp going on outside, so we got a bunch of kids out there running around. Actually done it. Today's the last day, so it's been going on since Tuesday. So we'll finish up around noon today.
From there, we got into spring football, and if you're from Texas, then you already know how big of a deal this is. I asked Coach about how spring ball went this year and how they're using it to springboard into summer workouts.
I thought it went great. You know, we, like you said, first things first, we made it through, unscathed. And so that's critical, trying to, for us anyway, it's critical to walk that fine line between sharpening your edge when you're going, your ones versus your ones during spring football, but also maintaining some practice habits that are smart, where you're not falling on guys and risking undue injury. You know, we've got 13 starters back from state semifinal team. And so, we know that there's a bunch of them that can already play, but we had a handful that we needed to figure out and get them into the fire, and when we go against each other, they're not going to play anybody that's better all year. Now, they might play some that are as good, but they're not going to play anybody better. And so I thought we had a really good competitive spring, improved, found some guys and some spots that we need to find, and then kept the guys that started for us healthy.
Of course, each new season brings changes to the roster. Coach Henigan gave me a quick rundown of who he lost, who's returning, and which players he expects to make a real impact.
It just depends on the year. I mean, a year ago, we had probably as many or maybe even a couple more back, and then there's been years where we don't. We graduated 9 guys that signed scholarships. Either five FBS, 2 FCS, and 2 Division II. So we lost some really good players from a year ago, but we also have 13 that are back, and so it's have a chance to I think be one of the 6 or 7 teams in our classification that legitimately have a chance to win the whole thing.
With so much success that he's had over the years, I wondered if there was a routine or a formula to getting the consistent results that he gets.
Well, I mean, I think that I don't know that there's a specific formula necessarily. I think that our tradition speaks for itself. I think our reputation speaks for itself. So coaches from all over the country are going to come through Ryan and other places in Denton, Geyer, and a lot of places in the local area because of the reputation that we have and the amount of winning that we do. We like to think we're good coaches, but we win because we have great players, always have. And don't get me wrong, we coach them up, but so I think colleges know that. They know that if you come to Ryan, you're going to find players every year, and some are going to be elite some years, and then some may be an inch or two off from what a quote big time school is looking for, but these kids may be great players that are 2 inches off, and so they're going to come find some really good players. And then I think our our coach's reputation and being honest with guys about, uh, where they can play. And I think that speaks volumes. And, I think coaches listen to what we have to say a lot of times. And so, all those things wrapped up. I don't know if, again, that's a formula, but I think that's kind of what we do here. And then obviously we're trying to help our kids get to where they want to go. And I think it's hard as parents and as players sometimes, particularly in the landscape of recruiting nowadays, that you better be realistic about where you're going. There's not as many scholarships anymore, particularly at the FBS level. Well, really all of them, but so there's minimized opportunities, and so you got to be willing to, sometimes nowadays you got to be willing to go to the FCSs or the Division II schools and prove that you can play before you can level up to an FBS school, and that's sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow, but that's just the reality of recruiting nowadays.
The reality of where athletes will end up playing can sometimes be difficult, but Coach Henigan has a good perspective on it all.
Well, I mean, I think that it is. I mean, you got to be honest. What I've found throughout really any dealings that we have, and anything in our program with parents, with players, the best thing you can do is be honest. You try to sugarcoat things, whether it's scholarships or playing time or anything else, then you're being dishonest, and that doesn't get you anywhere. You're better off being honest, even if those conversations are difficult to have. And so I think it's always been that way to a certain extent. Everybody's always had these big time University of Texas dreams, but that doesn't always match up with reality. And then when you take away the number of scholarships because of the transfer portal, I think that even hits you right in the face, more so.
We also took a moment to talk about his son, Seth Henigan, who just wrapped up a great collegiate career as a 4-year starter at Memphis and was drafted this year by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Huge moment for the Henigan family, and we touched a little bit on that.
He's doing well. I mean, he's with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's one of the, I guess, under 90 that you can have 90 on your team right now, and you got to get it down to 53 before the season starts. And so he's battling it out, trying to figure out a way to make the team or figure out a way to make the practice squad. There's 4 guys on the roster right now, and they don't know if they're keeping 3 or 4 yet. We don't know. And so, it's you're talking about being one of the 100 best quarterbacks in the world right now, and so it's very competitive. He's talented, but what's going to really help him is his intelligence. I think he's going to intelligence and processing. Everybody in the NFL is talented that plays quarterback, in every position for that matter. But in the NFL, if you can't process and you can't do things at the line of scrimmage and then process after the ball is snapped, you're going to have a hard time making it. And fortunately for Seth, I think that's his strength. And so, I won't be surprised if he finds his way onto the team at all. And so, now again, it's going to be highly competitive, and he's got a lot of work to do. But, if I know one thing about him, he's going to put it in. Well, I mean, a little bit of both. I mean, the way I've operated with all my sons is I'm going to give them advice if they want advice, and I'm here as a sounding board. But at the end of the day, you got to go make it happen for yourself. And so that's exactly what he's done. And up until this point, it's a similar, he's in a similar situation than he's always been. When he was in junior high, I'm not going to name any names, but everybody was talking about every other quarterback in the Denton area. Okay. When he was in high school, he wasn't the highest recruited quarterback in the Denton area, not even close. Only 2 schools really recruited him. He goes to Memphis. He starts as a true freshman. He owns every record in the school and in the conference. He does, he's a priority undrafted free agent. Doesn't get drafted, and so he's kind of in a really similar scenario. He's always been underrated. He's always been undervalued. And all he's ever done is prove people wrong. And so, I feel like that's probably going to happen again.
Then we got into district play, always a major factor in playoff positioning. Coach Henigan talked about how important it is to win a tough district like theirs.
Well, I mean, we we're going to have to, I think our district, obviously starts with us and Alito. Uh, and then, I mean, honestly, it's us and Alito and probably it's everybody else, and that's not to disrespect anybody. We have to come to work every week and prepare every week. And obviously Richland was a really extremely talented team a year ago, and we had to play them twice, and we had to play Alito twice. So we played Richland in district, we played them in the third round of the playoffs, and then we played Alito in district, played them in the fourth round of the playoffs. And so I think it's and then you got the other teams that are all on the rise, in my opinion. I think Brewer is on the rise. I think Birdville is on the rise with the new coach. Denton High has a new coach, so the week in, week out, I don't care. You still got to play. And then non-district, Northwest Eaton is a talented 6A team. Mansfield Timberview has always has tremendous talent, tremendous speed. So that will be a challenge down there to go to Mansfield. But yeah, I'm very optimistic about it. The reality of coaching at Ryan and playing at Ryan is whether it's realistic or not is irrelevant, but we expect to win every game every year. I mean, that's just, if that's not your mentality as the coach here or as a player in our program, then you're in the wrong place. I don't care who we're playing, and so or what level or what round, or we expect to win, and we put the work in to win, and so very optimistic about it. I think we have a good group. We have good seniors. I think that's critical. If you're going to be successful, you have to have. I've never been on a successful team that hasn't had great senior leadership, guys that carried the rest of those guys and showed them the way. It's just like this week, we give our kids the week off this week as we do our youth camp, and then we crank it back up next week. And, in the mornings, all of our senior leaders and our returning starters, they've been up here working out, even though it's not mandatory, and that generally tells me you have a chance to be a really good football team. And then obviously when you get into the season, you get into the bulk of it, and you get into the meat of the playoffs, then you got to have a lot of things go right. You got to stay healthy. You got to peak at the right time. You have to catch some breaks. Any team that I've had that's gone very deep, you've always caught a break here and there. And so, like I said, I think that we'll realistically be one of 6 to 7, maybe 8 teams realistically that have a shot to win the whole thing. And I do think our region is as tough as any region there is. When you throw us and Alito and a couple of those West Texas schools in there. And so we got some challenges, but one really good thing about our team last year that I think will carry over is we were kind of on the edge there for a couple of years, and these kids figured out how hard it is to win in the playoffs. Okay, and how and so there's a lot of learning involved. First of all, you figured out how hard it was to beat Alito in the playoffs. Then you turn around and figure out how hard it is, and we came up short to beat Highland Park, even though you had a big victory the week before. So all of those things are going to help us as we move into this year.
It's good to know that your players and your staff are ready to carry on the mission even through summer breaks.
A little bit of both. Our older kids will be here from pretty much 7:30 to 9:30, and so it's the high school 10 through 12 kids. So there's obviously weightlifting involved, and then we'll do a lot of speed training and agility work and plyometric training, all the stuff that pretty much everybody does. We do a little bit of football. I'm probably a little bit different than some people. Some people have full blown, and take all the time you can take during the summer. We we'll do certain targeted things that we may not be able to have time to do during the season, a lot of individual type work. But we back off of, some of the team and the, 7-on-7 things that we do during spring ball, and that will crank back up, in August. So we might be a little bit different there. And then our kids will do stuff on their own. You know what I mean? You have kids that run summer track. You have kids, our kids are still, no matter what we do, they're going to stay after. They're going to throw and catch. They're going to do their DB drills. The receivers are going to catch their however many balls the receiver coaches challenge them to catch on their own during the summer. All the individual, the centers are going to go snap on their own. So we we kind of want it to be more player-led in that respect during the summer, as opposed to us saying, hey, we're going to go out here and we're going to have football practice, even though we just finished having football practice and we're about to start practice up again, right? So have it be a little more player-led.
Exceptional athletes can show their talents at any level. And I asked Coach Henigan what his philosophy on playing young players is.
Well, I mean, we're going to play the best players. And if they happen to be freshmen, then they happen to be freshmen. Sometimes, even though athletically they might be one of the better players, they're not mentally ready to play. And so, I mean, the best examples I can give you, and we've had some great ones, like Earl West, who starts at defensive end for us right now. He started as a freshman. He's a 4-year starter for us. He was the best one we had that year, I mean, as a freshman, and so he had to play. And mentally, he was probably there, you know, but he made some freshman mistakes too. Spencer Sanders started for us at quarterback as a freshman. He was a 4-year starter at quarterback, and at the time we were 6A. And so first 2 years 6A program, second 2 years 5A program, 4-year starter at quarterback. Billy Bowman started for us as a freshman at wide receiver, and then as a sophomore, junior, and senior, he played both sides of the ball. Jatavian Sanders did not start for us as a freshman. We felt like he needed to play on the freshman team for 10 games, but in the playoffs, he was our 5th receiver as a freshman. So he played a lot in the playoffs as a freshman, but we felt like he needed to get 10 games under his belt. Anthony Hill played as a freshman on the freshman team, but in the playoffs, he was playing on the varsity. You know, and so it kind of depends on the situation, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, Jatavian didn't play as a freshman. He plays in the NFL. Billy just got drafted. He didn't play as a freshman. He plays in the NFL. Earl played as a freshman. He's going to be a scholarship guy. Spencer played it as a freshman, started as a 4-year starter in college. Seth is playing in the NFL, didn't play for us as a freshman. You know, so it kind of depends on the situation. It depends on the depth on the varsity. It depends on the ability of the player, but it also depends on the mental makeup of the player. You know, there's a big jump between junior high football and varsity football. And I'm not necessarily talking about athletically. I'm talking about the mental piece. I'm a linebacker. I have to be able to call the defenses. I have to be able to call the fronts. I have to be able to tell people what to do. You know, and that's a big jump. It's no different than if I'm an elite high school player and I make a jump to college. It's a totally different mental game. You better have the mental makeup to make sure that you can make that jump. Just like when you're an elite college player and you go to the NFL, you better have that elite mental makeup as well. Otherwise, you're not going to play early. So we've done it both ways to answer your question. I mean, it could, but if it does, he probably doesn't need to be playing. You know, I mean, it's just like any other kid that we have. I mean, you can't get caught up in things that you can't control, right? And that's part of the game, whatever. I mean, it happens all the time. But the reality is, if you're going to get more caught up, and we have this conversation with all of our players, not just a freshman, that was playing, but you can't get caught up in all that. I mean, that's all fine and good. I don't want to take the emotion. Football's a game of emotion. We'll never take the emotion out of the game. But if you get more caught up in the trash talk and everything that's going on the perimeter of the game, you're losing sight of what's important, and controlling the things that you can control. You know, and as soon as you get out of the things that you can't control, well, then you're hurting yourself and you're hurting your team. And so if a freshman were to get lost in that, I think that they probably wouldn't be playing for us.
We talked about something that every coach is dealing with these days, and that's distractions. It's so much pulling at players off the field. Coach Henigan shared how he works to keep his team focused on their goals, both as a group and as individuals.
It's not too dissimilar to what we've always dealt with in recruiting and what we've always talked to our kids about in recruiting. Is, you know, once again, I just talked about this, but control what you can control. And what you can control is your work ethic. What you can control is your effort. What you can control is your coachability. You know, and so when you do that and you become what we've always talked to our kids about, when you become the best Raider that you can be, and that's what you're worried about, and the best person that you can be, then the recruiting piece and all of that other deal, that'll take care of itself. And I've had kids, I had a kid a few years back that we were blowing somebody out bad, and we don't run the score up on people here. So I take my guys out, and boy, he came off and threw his helmet down and was upset, and I made him go pick his helmet up, and I said, man, you have got to trust us. Okay, it's going to happen, but you're not going to get highlights in this game against this team that's going to make any difference. Okay, he was frustrated because he got taken out of the game, and then lo and behold, he plays his tail off the rest of the year, and in the playoffs makes unbelievable plays. Anyway, he signs a scholarship. My point is, a lot of it is trust in developing those relationships, those kids and those parents that, like, look, I get it, And the good thing is, I have kids that are going through it. My own kids went through it. Like, my Seth, who is in the NFL, like I was saying earlier, no one recruited him. Okay, North Texas didn't recruit him. Okay, and so I can relate on a personal level. My youngest son is going through the same thing right now. I think he's very undervalued, and so I can relate on a personal level. I think that helps too. With my own kids going through the recruiting process. But the reality is, if you're focused on the things that matter, which is what you can control, I do believe, and in my history, our history here has been, those things are going to take care of themselves. You're going to find a spot. Now, it may not be it may not be the University of Texas, right? But you're going to find someone that you can go play college football for and get your education paid for. And so I think a lot of it's keeping kids' eyes on the bullseye. I do think it's a constant conversation. It has to be a constant conversation of, it's about the Raiders, it's about the team, and that's okay to have individual goals within the team context. I want kids to have individual goals. I want kids to want to be all-state. I want kids to want to go sign a scholarship, as long as they're keeping it to that, hey, I want to do this partially for me, but partially because I want to win, right? And what I found here, and what we always talk to our kids about, is like, and it's true, the deeper we go in the playoffs, the more kids that sign scholarships. It's just a fact. It's just the way it works. And so we do talk to our kids about that, because, again, they need to have individual goals, right? It's not just about the team. There's definitely some individual goals involved in this thing. And so we try to keep that whole thing wrapped up together.
And lastly, Coach discussed how he and his family take some time to spend together during these summer months.
Yeah, we're June, we're pretty much here. July at Ryan, we try to get away. We let our kids take a break. They'll be kids. They still work out on their own. The weight room's still open. We just don't have as much structure. So coaches get away, players get away, so that when we get back, we're fresh. Because we think we're going to be playing till Christmas every year. So we try to be fresh when we get back. So me personally, first couple of weeks of July, I'll go. I've got a brother who's got a house on the Jersey Shore, so we go to the beach and hang out there and get away. Nice weather. Don't ever get in a car. Bike everywhere. And then the good thing is, all my kids, my older two boys, Seth and my oldest Ian, they're both engaged to be married. So them and their fiancés will meet us there. Seth will get, he'll get a few days off between the end of camp and the start of their mini camp. So he'll meet us there with his fiancée, Anna. And so, won't do much other than just decompress.
All in all, it was a great interview with Coach Henigan. Very insightful, lots of information. Thank you, Coach Henigan, for coming on. We hope to get you on again. Have a great summer. Everyone watching, have a great summer as well. Stay tuned for more shows. All the information to contact Coach Henigan on social media will be in the description. So check that out. And thank you for watching, and we'll see y'all soon. See ya.